Hello guys, my name is Dio Costa and we're back with programming in Python with our 5th chapter, data types. I've briefly talked about a few data types, but in this chapter we're going to be looking in more deep into data types and how we can use them and etc. So, every variable has a given data type. The most common data types are, and for those who go on to do A-level or do more studying programming, we'll learn about more different data types, but these are the most common, especially for the beginners. But yeah, these are really the most. There are other different types of data types which are used, but these are like the most common. You'll always use these data types, no matter what. So the first one is string, text made up of numbers, letters, and characters. Yes, string can include numbers. So if let's say your string, so let's say you have some text and some numbers, you put that as a string, because as an integer you won't be able to put any text, so that will be classed as a string. For integer, they're whole numbers, as the example show, 178, 0, and minus 54. So yeah, negatives are also included onto that. Float, these are decimal numbers with a point, doesn't matter if they're positive or negative. Float comes under the umbrella of what we often refer to as real numbers. I did discuss this in the previous video, that float can also be referred to as a real number. So, there you go. Boolean is true or false. These, I think you use less of Boolean. I think you use more integer and string. But sometimes Boolean, for example, quizzes can be used. Boolean can be used for quizzes and other stuff that you may wish. Boolean can be used quite often. It depends on really what program you're really creating. But yeah, Boolean is one. And whenever you see the word Boolean, it's true or false. Okay. In some languages, we have to tell the computer what data type as type a variable is going to be. I also know C#, and I know when I'm coding C#, I do have to say, is this going to be a string? Is this going to be an integer? Is this going to be a float? However, in Python, on the other hand, it is able to decide the data type of the variable according to which value it was given. But this can cause some problems as well. But yes, Python can automatically assume what data type you want. So if, let's say you give a variable name equals 5, it'll assume, okay, you want that to be an integer. There's no decimal points, and etc. Right? So if you were to do another variable and you had to put a decimal, you put a decimal number, you assume, okay, you want float. And when it comes with string, when you have speech marks or punctuation mark, it will assume, okay, you want a string. So sometimes the assumptions are correct, sometimes they are not correct. But let's go with the task. Copy and run the following program. So they want us to do A equals input, enter number 1. I'm just going to put a space, even though they didn't put a space, but to make it lovely and clear, just make it look good. I'll put a space, and just Control-C, Control-V to copy and paste. And I'm doing C equals A plus B. Print, adding your numbers together gives, gives plus C. So let's press F5. Let's run this. Enter number 1. Let's do 5 and 4, like they say over here. I numbers give you 54. That's great. That's because Python treats anything received through an input function as a string. So the reason that Python was able to add on these numbers and put them into a string is because it views it as and was able to it was able to add on C, the value of C, which is 54, onto the string because it treated an input as a string. This is very important. Everything that you input into Python, so whenever you use this input function, it treats it as a string. But to cast data to an integer, we use the int function. Now, whenever you use the int function, Python is going to want an integer. So let's just use this and let's just do some testing. So what we have to do is we have to just put an int in front of input, open bracket, close bracket, because this is what Python's going to try to do. I'm going to enter a string. I'm just going to enter characters instead of a number. Python, whenever it has this int in front of it, is going to try to convert that into an integer. And you're going to see what's going to happen. So let's type in hello. We get what's called a value error. Invalid literal for int with base 10. So what this basically saying is that what you typed in is not a base 10 integer, i.e. it has no numbers from 0 to 9. So this character, whatever I typed, it has no numbers from 0 to 9, base 10, because it's 10 numbers, 0 to 9 is 10 numbers. So when I F5 this and I enter a number, 5 and 4, that got through, but we get another error. Can't convert int object to string implicitly. Now what this means is this is also a very common problem you'll come by, and the PDF does have it right here. Type error, can't convert int object to string. And we need to tell Python we want to convert this string to an integer before we input as a variable. We've done that. This is done by typecasting. We've done that, we've converted it. The time you get an error in line 4. That's because A and B are now integers. This means C is now an integer as it takes in the sum of integers, which is itself an integer. So I'm trying to simplify that. It's converted this into an integer. So now what it's done is simply, okay, so it's told Python these two are integers and we want a sum of C. So previously, what you saw was when we added the numbers 5 and 4, it got 54 somehow. Why did it get 54? Because we're looking at our previous lessons, we saw that when you try to add strings, it just combines the strings. It does not add them. So Python was thinking, oh, these are just strings, you just want me to put them together, even though they're integers. And this is where the issue comes on when you try to let Python assume the data type. Without this int, Python assumes, oh, it's a string. So sometimes it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Sometimes it won't work. So sometimes you have to say, this is an integer. You have to tell Python this is an integer. So, and what the problem is that you cannot add an integer and a string to a sentence together. So you cannot have a string plus an integer together. It just does not work. However, we can concatenate strings with strings. But in Python, we can't concatenate strings with integers. It's again another technical word, concatenate. Just having them together, concatenate. So how do we solve this? Simply, we convert C into a string. So after we've added the two numbers together, we add 5 and 4, we add them together, then we can convert them to a string because they've now we actually got the proper answer, and then all will work fine, right? Let's do that. So similar to how we've done int over here, we're going to use str, and that means string. And we need to close the bracket as well. And what that's just simply is saying, convert anything inside my brackets, i.e. the C, into a string value. So we press F5, OK, save please, enter number 1, 5, and 4, adding numbers gives 9. So there we go, we've actually got the correct result. So now the program should work, and yes, it does work. Write a program that asks for the length and width and outputs the area of a rectangle. So, to get an area of a rectangle, we need to get the width and height and multiply that. So let's do that. So let's get some variable names up over here. Let's get width equals input. So actually, instead, you know what? I'm just going to do a lovely copy and paste, like you usually do. Yeah, let's just copy all this. So let's say width width, int equals, please enter width. Please enter width. We do, please enter height. Let's multiply these two together. We use the asterisk for multiplication. And we say this area is, this area is. Let's change this to the area. Let's change this now to the area. So double clicking again just highlights that word. Control C, Control V to paste. So now let's do this. So let's do 9. Oh yeah, that's actually, hold on, that's another one. Let's do enter. Oh yeah, we must enter an integer. See, it doesn't accept enters now. Or the previous numbers, there were 5 and 4. 5 and 4. There, yeah, that one works. And we want also please enter width. It's 9 and 5. Error is 25. No, error cannot be 25. Okay. Little bug error. Let's change this to height. Oops, I know what I just done. I didn't change the bloody area is not a time. Instead it was multiplying 5 by 4. Well, something like that. Oh, no, don't do that. There we go. Let's try that again. And this time, I'm going to show you as a little neat trick. If you don't want this to run, so let's say you just, that works. Okay, don't force me to always input something. I don't want that to run anymore. If you go on Format, highlight it, click on Format, and click on Comment Out Region, it comments it out, meaning that it won't run. Python will just assume that's a comment. Don't run this. 9 and 5. There we go. The error is 45. It's a little silly bug. Task 5c. The formula for volume of a cylinder is pi r squared multiplied by h. Well, pi, multiplied by r squared. Radius to the power 2 times h. Right. Surface area is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h, where r is the radius and h is the height. Pi is the value. Yes, we know what pi is. Well, Python knows what pi is, so there we go. Assume that the user may enter the radius and height as real numbers. To cast these, you need to use the float. Real, most people say, just word of warning, again, like I've said previously, real is the word that I think is used most commonly to refer to a float. Okay? So never forget that real is a float, or is decimal, or however you wish to remember. Our opponent asks you for the radius and height of the cylinder, then calculates the volume and area. So we want two things. On the volume, which they're giving us the formula for, which doesn't seem to have that good quality. I think they just print screened it off somewhere else. And the area. So let's also comment this one out as well. So we can just focus on this task. So we want to ask for the input first. We want the radius and the height. That's the two first things. So let's do input. Actually no, what am I doing? Let's actually undo with the comments we just done. So let's just Control Z, I mean, to undo. Control X, I think it's redo. That one. And let's just comment this. Let's just comment this. No, not comment out. Comment. Comment out just removes the comments, which is the hashtag. Python, when you comment, format comment, it does 2 hashtags, but 1 hashtag is enough to add as a comment. So anyway, the formula for volume of cylinder is, so first of all we want is radius and height. That's the first thing we want. Radius and height. Now we want is the volume. So volume is equal to pi. Now there is a input you can do. there is a way of getting pi without having to do this. Now, the way to do this is we're going to have to import what's called a module. And what import module just... What this module just lets us do is... What import module does that? There are different types of modules. That's what Python calls it, modules. You can call it different libraries or whatever you should call it. The import function just lets us import some extra functions that we can use. So instead of us having to type in this number, we could actually get the real value of pi, the real value that Python has of pi. Instead of just using 5, it's probably more longer. We can actually test that out if we actually just do print. So what the math function just lets us do is lets us actually to use the math.pi function. So that just lets us just access some more maths type of stuff. If we just print out, there you go, that's the whole value of pi that Python has, which is more longer than this one. You're looking, there'll be, modules do come in handy when you want to do some extra stuff. For example, if you want to do stuff with files and folders, you'll use import OS, operating system, and to do some changes, get some information and stuff, etc. It's quite handy to have. But anyway, or if you want to do some randomizing, you'll do import random, which do some nice cool stuff. It just allows you to do extra functions that instead what you had to do was you had to type in all that instead. So instead of me having to type in pi, I can just say volumes equal to math.pi, which just gets me the value of pi, times the radius. So let's get the radius. Yes. Now, how do you do squared? This is very interesting. How can we do squared in Python? So Python has this neat, handy thing where you can just do. Let me put this one together. Asterisk, asterisk 2. Actually, we could put it together or put it separate. Here we put. What this just says is, it's saying, I want the radius to the power of 2. Just 2 asterisks just puts it to the power of 2. Asterisks, because now we want to multiply, so we've got the radius squared multiplied by the height. So there we go. But oh yeah, so just know something. To cast this, you'll need to use the float. Yes, because radius and height don't have to be integers. Let's just use the word float instead. For pi, we don't need to use the word float because we didn't assign what pi is. We got a lovely thing from Python, lovely little function from Python to tell us what pi is. So we didn't have to type in. Just better than having to type in pi ourselves. Times height, and that is the volume. Now we want is the surface area. And that is 2 pi. So that's 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by radius time by radius squared. Now instead we're going to do is a plus 2 multiplied by pi pi multiplied by the radius multiplied by the height. I believe that's correct. Do you have the answers? I don't think they have the answers. That's annoying. So we won't be able to test it. See if it's correct. Surface area. Surface area. Surface area. Surface area. So we've got the surface area. 2 pi multiplied by radius power to 2 plus 2 multiplied by pi. So multiplied by radius multiplied by the height. Okay, whatever. It works. What do you want? We want both, right? That asks you the radius and calculates the volume and area. So plus this, please, plus string, because we need to convert it, plus surface area. Actually, you know what I'll do instead? What I'll do is, no, let's do this, the volume is get surface area is. So let's try that. Please enter width, let's say 50, height 12. Big numbers. I don't even know if this is correct, don't ask me. I think it's correct. I think I did it correctly. No? Okay, let's try small numbers. Let's say because it doesn't give us a bloody example. 2 by 5. I don't know if it's correct. Something rounded. Yeah. That could be an extension. Try to round those numbers. There you go. And that's the whole program. Okay. Anyway, I think I've done it correctly. Unless I need to like have some brackets now. So here doesn't appear brackets, so I think I've done it correctly. I think this is done correctly. I believe so. Anyway, so the next lesson will be selection with if statements. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys very soon. Goodbye.